In some cases, they tell you before you even get to the charger that there's a wait. That's
Wow.
the change in infrastructure from 2018 or 2016 to like now. That's the same infrastructure. That hasn't changed in a while. They did add one more charger like recently within a year, and now we got to go to 98 million more. Holy moly, man! The jobs. That's why Elon said I'm going to start a school to teach electricians because it's a massive undertaking.
Hey everyone, my name is Rodell Razor. I'm the CEO and co-founder of X Factor Capital, and I'm going to be showing you guys the inside of our new podcast, the Underestimated Podcast. We're going to be interviewing founders from all over the country. We're going to be telling their stories about the obstacles they've had to overcome, the things they've had to do to build their businesses, whether it be through fundraising, acquiring customers, technology, all these different challenges that you have as a founder, and how as an entrepreneur you have to overcome those challenges, and how as an underestimated entrepreneur they have unique challenges to them, how they go through that process. We're going to tell their stories. We're going to highlight some of their businesses. Hopefully you guys can see some of their great products, some of their great services, and for those of you that are interested in entrepreneurship, this podcast is for you because it's going to inspire you to go beyond that threshold of where you want to quit, to go through that wall, and these stories are absolutely incredible. So you guys stay tuned. Come along. Welcome, everyone. My name is Rodell Razor. I am the co-founder and CEO of X Factor Capital, and this is the Underestimated Podcast. And today I am joined by Rock Robinson out of Dallas, and he is the co-founder and CEO of eCarra. Rock, thank you for joining us today, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're excited. Very excited to chat. Rock, we've been able to become friends over the last 6 months, learning more about what eCarra does. Rock is a friend, a father, a great man, and a CEO. And so I love to always start this. This is to highlight you and your business, but to really just to get to know what you're building a little bit more. So tell me, if I'm someone who doesn't know eCarra, I haven't been able to dive in as much as maybe Rodell has done, but tell the audience a little bit about what you do and what eCarra does.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for having me, and I love talking. So if I talk too much, just let me know.
Well, you're in the right place, brother.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So let me just kind of back up a little bit. I think it's important to know that when we had this idea, it wasn't the original idea wasn't eCarra. We were working on a platform that was gonna an idea was like, how do we clean up ride sharing and make it a little bit better, like consistent with nicer cars. So my co-founder Kevin Shea came to me with this idea, and to use dealer model, the I'm sorry, the loaner program cars, and turn those cars into some type of revenue model, and then also a lead generation. So, and we did a little pilot, and we branded it Ride Brand, and I did all this research. I spent about a year working on it, and then I went to him and I said, "Hey, man, the pilot works. This is going to make money. This is going to be great. You're going to have a lot of people riding these cars because it's nice and it's consistent and it's clean. You got professional people. But here's the deal: gasoline cars are going to die, bro. And so I don't want anything to do with it."
Yeah.
So I was walking away from it at that point, and I just didn't feel good about putting my life, right, the next 20 years possibly of my life into something that I knew that wasn't gonna, value my grandkids or something. So that was my thinking. I was like, so I said,
Yep.
but if we go all electric, if we do that, I'm in. And he said, why? Because I said, because nobody's done it before. And he was like, okay. And he said, well, how are we gonna do it? I said, I have no idea. So Rye Brand, that day, that conversation, I went back home. I started Googling some stuff. I saw this word eCarra, and I thought, man, that looks sexy. eCarra, man, that looks sexy. And I took the S out, and I say eCarra. Ooh, eCarra. And I was just kind of doing that, eCarra. And then I got my whiteboard out. This is exactly what happened. Got my whiteboard
Yep.
out, and I wrote it, eCarra. Then I put an acronym to it, electric car ride awareness. Damn. And then I went to GoDaddy. I went in and typed in eCarra. Boom, it's available for $7. Bam, bam, bought it.
I love it. I love
Swear to
it.
God, swear to God, bought it that night, bro. I'm not done. That night, went to Squarespace, built the website, the whole website that night. I just took Rybrand and converted it over to eCarra, and it was the same business model. It was just at this point, the culture was all electric. It changed everything from that day. Like everything
Wow.
changed. Like
Wow.
literally how we approached the business model, how we were gonna get vehicles, how we are gonna train people, how are you gonna get charging, how are you gonna get fun. Everything changed that day.
Wow. Wow. So, I mean, that's such the entrepreneur story. It's like, hey, I come up with this idea, I make a strong pivot, and then I sprint towards that decision. And you obviously, like you said, you went to GoDaddy. I don't know how many times personally I've been on GoDaddy, like, hey, is this domain available? And then it's like almost a business idea. It validates your business idea if the the domain's available, right? So you're like, oh, well, it's a sign, right? I'm going to keep going, and you just keep going from one lily pad to the next, to the next, to the next, and you build the website and all that stuff. So from a ride sharing, company, tell me a little bit more about, what is eCarra doing that's so different from other ride shares? Obviously, you've talked about the electric component, but what are some of the other components that you guys are bringing to the market make it unique?
Yeah, for us, it's real easy. There's a first off, and I say this to people all the time. There is no versus in this game. Anybody that gets in the game of electric mobility right now is going to win. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter how you bring it in. You got about a 10-year run. You're going to have a decade of winning. That's just a matter of fact, right? So, but eCarra, we do two things. One, we have transportation as a service. eCarra, the brand, like think of it like Apple that produces something for customers. We produce safe, consistent rides in Teslas. It will always be Tesla because that's a brand play for us. We know that Tesla's a leader. We know that it's a cultural thing. Tesla's the only brand right now that is much like Apple, where they can actually connect with any age group. Doesn't matter where you are.
Yep.
What other brand does that from like 7 to 77?
Yep.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's huge, right? And so
Yep.
we're going to stay that. The second thing we do is what we're really proud of is this SaaS model or mobility as a service model where we take our platform and we basically clone it for other operators to do exactly what we're doing. This then detethers them from Uber and Lyft. There's thousands of operators out there that are only on the Uber and Lyft platform because that's the only thing available. And most of them are using both platforms.
Yep.
So you got the same driver pool on both platforms trying to hustle business.
Yep.
What we're saying is stop that madness. Here's a platform where instead of you paying them 45% of your revenue, you keep 90% of your revenue and use an electric car, and then your profit margins are going to double because you're getting less money and you're spending less money. So that's the thing with that. And then
Got
thirdly,
it.
is the data play. We knew that there were so many things that we could be doing. We could start charging infrastructure right now and win because we know how we do it so much. We know what good charging should feel like. Like that's a
Yep.
hard, right? This is what I mean by like these verticals that you discover. You're like, holy shit. Like one day I pulled up to a Tesla supercharger. I swear to God, it's on my Instagram. I pulled up to a supercharger and there was trash everywhere. Just because people are like, they come, they park, they clean their
Yep.
car, they throw shit out, whatever. I said, hey,
Yep.
this is a business right here. Somebody should go to Tesla right now and do a contract to maintain and maintenance all the superchargers right now. Start
Yep.
now because they're gonna keep scaling. Like you get in now. Just be a
Yep.
trash person for Tesla. That's a
Yep.
that's a business. I swear to you. Okay. So we do the data play simply because it's the easy, low hanging fruit, right? We get so much data that now it becomes available to, from how many gallons of gasoline we're saving every movement to how much carbon that we don't produce to how many, carbon, how much carbon is sequestered by the trees that we planted to consumer data to air quality data to like all of this data that we're building with the upside of that I can't talk about right now, but I can tell you that
Yep.
that data upside from a uh, from a blockchain perspective,
Yep.
super huge. Yeah.
So it's interesting, you talked about that 10-year window. I almost hear it as like, like the blockchain or the virtual money, things like that. So your thesis, your belief, your claim is the electric car industry, whether you're a manufacturer or a supporter of that industry, is at its very early stages and it's only going up from here. And so that was your claim. I want to capture that, and I want you to expand on that a little bit more on what inspires you to believe that. Obviously, Elon is a market leader. He's got a lot of influence, so he's where people go. But talk to me a little bit more, like geek out a little bit on like the electric car space, the things that people don't really know outside of Elon Musk, right? So tell me a little bit more about why you think the industry as a whole, if Elon dies tomorrow, not wishing that upon him, but if something were to happen to Elon or Tesla, like, is this market something that's very real?
Right. I'm going to answer that in two parts. The first part of that is just sheer math, right? So first, there's 300 million registered gasoline vehicles in this country. 300 million. Right now, we're at like 2 million electric cars. That's not even, that's not, that's 0.66%, something like that, right? Think about that for a second. Now, let's just say out of 300 million gasoline cars, we were able to remove a third of those and it'd be electric. 1/3 electric, 2/3 gas. That's 100 million electric cars, bro. Do you know how much needs to
Million to
happen?
go.
Do you know how much do you know how much needs to happen for that to happen? Bro, right now in Dallas on a Sunday, okay, when we started in 2016, 18, 2018 is when we really got on the Tesla bandwagon and really started driving the cars. There was no Model 3 and Model Y at that time, right? That was only Model S, and Model X had just came on the scene. The one with the Falcon doors. That just happened, right?
I remember that.
2016. We could go at that point to any charger, any Tesla supercharger in Dallas and park and plug and fall asleep. I used to go and park the car and charge and go eat lunch and just leave it there. Okay, now there's a squatting rule. Now you got to wait in line. In some cases, they tell you before you even get to the charger that there's a wait. That's the change in infrastructure from 2018 or 2016 to like now, right?
Wow.
Now that's the same infrastructure. That hasn't changed in a while. They did add one more charger like recently within a year, but for the most part, that's what's happening. And now we got to go to 98 million more. Holy moly, man! The jobs. That's why Elon said I'm going to start a school to teach electricians because it's a massive undertaking, massive infrastructure. Everything has to change. When I said earlier, when we changed from ride brand to eCarra, when I said everything changed, I meant, dude, nothing is the same. When you get in your car, you turn a key, you put it in gear, you mash a gas, you doing stuff. You don't do none of that. All that's different. This is sit down, software takes over, no noise, buttons, barely touching pedals, don't hit brakes. Just that alone, the culture that like we have to train our drivers, literally, bro. I have to train our drivers 2 to 3 days of driver training because it's hard for them to get used to regenerative braking, right? Regenerative braking for electric cars golden because that saves you a little bit of kilowatts. I can't have that. Costs me money from a company's perspective if they're losing energy just because they don't drive the car properly.
My apologies.
Right? So that's the math side of that.
Okay.
Now let's talk about this other side of it where Elon goes away, for example. Don't wish that because that's he's doing some crazy stuff. The reason Tesla at this point. Now I say this, this is weird, but you know what happened when Steve Jobs died? Tesla
Yep.
or Apple just went fucking crazy, right?
Yep.
The same thing will happen in this case, but he's gonna live a much longer time because this dude's got
Yep.
Neuralink. He's got like a chip in his brain that, like, he's literally. This fool is
Half
literally like
robot.
Iron Man, like
Yeah.
straight up Tony Stark, straight up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's gonna live a long time. But my point is, Elon is now curating the best talent in the world. Like, if you're a badass coder, where do you want to work, bro?
Oh yeah. You want to work at Tesla?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you have a passion for this planet to do something,
Yep.
where are you gonna go?
Right.
Okay.
Market leader.
So not only that, market leader, you're right, but part of that is because of his culture. He's got the
Yep.
same kind of culture that Apple had. When I worked for Apple, the only place that I wanted to go work was Tesla, right?
Yep.
So he's getting the best talent in the world. Saying that, that company is solid as a fucking rock, bro.
Right.
These people are guardians of the earth. They're guardians of the planet. They don't give a shit about, like, the like the electric car game is like, that's kind of like the money machine. They're going to Mars, bro. Like, that's the game.
Right. Right.
So the electric car thing is toy money. That you can build electric cars like really not that hard.
Yep.
We went to Canoe yesterday to look at the facilities and look at their production and stuff, man. They're going to be making thousands of these cars in no time. And it's just like, how do you get your hands on them? Because they're the most, when you think about mobility, when you think about moving things and people, that'll never stop. I know a lot of people work from home, but that just increased the mobility. So
Mm.
when you think about mobility now, at scale, mobility, what we thought was going to happen was, hey, mobility was going to increase from 200 and, like ride sharing, from 260 billion to 365 billion. It's going to skyrocket past that now, because now you got more opportunities for people to move even though they work from home. Like, I was just talking to one of our clients from Amazon. Amazon's our client. They just announced that the employees, some of them get to work at home indefinitely. So we start talking about that, but it's like, well, the directors and the managers determine how much time that they need to be at home or not. But right
Yep.
now, everybody wants to come to meetings, so now they're moving. They're just
Yep.
more moving because they're not tethered to a desk all day.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So this freedom to move, holy shit, bro! Like, I'm just glad that we're doing it. Even if
Yep.
we were on if there was a list of 100 people and we were 99, I would still be glad.
Wow. So I love the obviously I know that you've become passionate about obviously the electric space, the conserving space. Where does that passion come from? I don't believe that it's got to be a brand new thing that you're just like, all of a sudden I'm passionate about electricity and the carbon footprint of the world. Like, does that come from somewhere?
Absolutely. Like, it was like a, I don't know, part of a journey, I think, of my life. You know, my early on, I was in the transportation business. I had graduated high school, and my best friend, his dad owned a trucking company, so I started driving 18 wheelers really really at a young age. About 21, the CDL started, right, and a lot of those guys that didn't have a CDL, that were driving trucks, they couldn't read or write. This is another interesting phenomenon, by the way. In 1995, 94, somewhere in like that, the states introduced the CDL, and you had to go take a test to get the license to drive an 18 wheeler. And a lot of those people, especially down south where I was in Houston, they couldn't read or write.
Mm.
None of them.
But they could drive.
So
But they could drive an 18 wheeler, no problem.
they can drive 18 wheel, no problem. Shit, they have been doing it for, like, these people have
Yeah.
been doing that for like years, bro. They built
Right.
their families off of transportation, and all of a sudden, done. They're done. They're out the game.
Wow.
So now here I am, graduated high school. I can read and write, and now I can drive a truck. So I'm 24 years old. I'm buying 18 wheelers. I'll make, so I was a part of thousands of gallons of burning of diesel into the atmosphere. Like me, like
Yep.
my carbon footprint. Now, this is part of that journey. My carbon footprint produced thousands of gallons of CO2 because of diesel engines. Now, that carbon that I produce stays in our environment for 1,000 years.
Mm.
It takes 30 years for me to clean up that I did when I graduated high school, just trying to make money, right? So that was, think about that. I
Yep.
get to be older. I get into technology. I get into counseling. I was an entrepreneur, and then I got into car selling and car business, and then I started this thing about like eating better, and I stopped eating meat with bones, and I started to feel better, and I stopped eating a lot of meat together, and it just, in my gut I knew that starting a business using gasoline or any kind of oil products was not interesting to me. It just,
Mm.
it was a bad taste in my mouth kind of thing,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know and that's how, bro, I'm telling you, listen, man, the rye brand, we could be making. There's a company here in our city right now, Alto, and I love what they do. I love what they
Yeah.
do. Basically, they do what we do. They are rye brand, except for they're paying for vehicles. They're using Buicks. We were getting them for free. They just got another $45 million raise. My life could be so much easier if we had stayed on the rye brand track. Dude, my stress level, I would have a house somewhere in where you are in California somewhere. I swear to God. I
Yeah.
swear to God, we would be so. I would be so rich right now, just going, hey, we're gonna go gas route, we're gonna go ride share business model route, and we're gonna use Uber's numbers to prove our model out. That's what they
Yep.
did,
Yep.
right? And they got tons of money. We
Yep.
we barely got a million. We haven't even reached $1 million, bro. They probably had over 50, 60 million in raises.
Wow.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm
So
talking about.
yeah, so I think that's really
By the
interesting, and
way,
yeah.
hold on. I gotta say this because it matters. By the way, that company I mentioned did not build their own platform. They do not have a platform. They actually lease their software from another company.
From
So,
another
and
company.
that's crazy to me. So the people invested in them, they don't even have a platform. They're just using rideshare numbers. That's it. Uber numbers. Hey,
Yep.
they made this many billion. If you do it, you can make this many million.
Yep.
But when I say that to somebody, it's like weird.
Yeah. Well, it's the challenge of innovation, right? It's creating a
Right.
new lane versus participating in a lane that was already there and just being a fast follower rather than a market leader.
Fair.
And
Fair enough.
well, they say pioneers get scalped, right? Not to be morbid, but that's the hard part about pioneering an industry, pioneering a model. That's true entrepreneurial spirit. So I definitely, have a lot of respect for you. And you mentioned something. I don't know if I knew this about you. So my background started in the car business as well. I don't know that. I don't know if we discussed that. What'd you do in the car business?
Yeah, so I had always been a lover of cars and started buying and selling cars early on and just flipping a lot of cars. And so I learned how to buy cars very well. That was pretty much my gift. And I went to work for Nissan as a used car manager, and all I did was do the buying.
Yep.
They hired me to buy and just put numbers on stuff. And so
Yep.
um, that after doing that, and I was in Atlanta at the time, and did really well with that. And I moved to Texas right around the time when Cash for Clunkers had just happened. Remember that, when they were like
Yep.
trading
That
in
was I
cars?
was so hard on the used car industry. Yep.
So hard, so hard.
Yeah.
But what we discovered was there was about 5 vehicles that sold hands down, no matter what condition. It was like the Honda Accord, the Toyota Camry, the
Yep.
Honda Odyssey, the Toyota Sienna van, and a
Yep.
Volvo. One
Yep.
Volvo.
Yep.
We literally bought as many of those as we could, and we used social media and at the time, Google AdWords was really cheap. I learned how to use Google AdWords in 2005 when I was in the party rental business. Before anybody was using Google AdWords, we were paying like not even like 1 cent a click for ads in Atlanta. And so I knew how to use social media and Google. And so we created a little small car selling business where we sold about 150 cars a year, just me and my buddy. And
Yeah.
that's after that was around when the cash clunkers happened. So people were really looking for good, decent cash
Used
cars.
cars. Yeah, no, I was in the car business right after college, went from door-to-door sales to the car business. Worked my way up from sales floor to assistant manager to, F&I to the desk managers and used car manager, new car manager, all those different things. So that's interesting, man. I don't think I knew that about you. That's and I'm a firm believer, most car guys, if they can pivot out of the business with a level of professionalism and integrity, they can build just about anything. So, well, I love it, man. And so what inspires you as far as being a CEO, running a team? Because I'm sure there's some of these things that you could do completely on your own, but you're also an employer. So tell me what inspires you about building teams and building people and bringing people into your ecosystem to not only work for the eCarra mission, but to work for their independent goals and helping them pull out their purpose through your work. So tell me a little bit about team building.
Yeah, man. I can't even tell you how much how important that is to us. Our team, oh my God, man. Just it's so much that they have sacrificed, and what I don't say it enough. I feel like I say it a lot, but it's never enough. Mike and his work is just stellar. I feel like we have the best people in the world simply because they love what they do. They've been working for free for a year through the pandemic, still focused and faithful and awesome. And it's like, that kind of stuff is so valuable, man. It's like that we are that, like, we are the team. They say investors are investing in the team. Like, that's what
Yeah.
you get. You get some
Yeah.
people that are super dedicated, man. And I learned at an early age. Like I said, I was a youth counselor for most of my life, even though I was a truck driver at night and stuff like that. I learned that when you allow people to really be free and run, and do what they love, they'll do so. And so
Yeah.
my theory with our team is, like, I really don't give a shit what you do as long as you do what you love to do a lot. And that's where they are. Mike
Mm.
is a full stack developer. I don't There's not a rule. Mike doesn't have any rules. He does whatever the hell he wants, but in doing so, he's probably created the platform that can compete with any other, $1 million platforms.
Yep.
Our Amanda, who's our business development, she's got us connected with the Dallas Cowboys and manufacturers. Like, these people love what they do. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're learning things as they go, but they just love what they do, and that's the key, man. I feel like,
Yeah.
and our interviews kind of go like that. Like, first off, I don't want you to see your resume. I don't really care about that. Like, what do you love to do? Let's start there. Like, tell me
Mm.
about that. And if it's a good fit, it's a good fit. If it's not.
Yep.
I do believe in the hire fast, promote fast, fire fast. I believe that. I believe that's good.
Hmm.
So we try to keep that going. As my son started out, he came here and just, like, literally was washing cars. And I told you last weekend, he was, taking my place in operations to a degree. So,
So you have a
we
startup company that's also a family business. Talk a little bit about having your kids work for you, man. That's a cool dynamic, not in just startup culture, but as a black father, as an entrepreneur, having your sons work for you, work with you, work alongside you in your startup company. Talk to me a little bit about, having your sons work with you.
Razor, we talked about this a little bit
Yep.
on our accountability call. It was a struggle for me, man. It was a struggle for me because my 18-year-old son now got a full scholarship to go to Midwestern State here in Texas to play football. He's a straight A student, always has been, super smart kid, and he's just like, and they did the whole thing, right? They did all of the college, they toured the colleges and went to the visits and did the signing day thing. We're all excited, and then all of a sudden, through summertime, sitting at home during a pandemic, he decides, I'm done with that. Like, I want to just
Wow.
stay and work with family business. And I'm like, wow, okay, wow. Like, what is that? Like, what's that motivation about? And it took me a while to really grasp why he wanted to do that, but now I get it. Now I totally get it. Like, he's doing kind of what I did. Like, I went to school, ORU, for a little bit, and I just left because it was too slow. And he's excelling. He's now learning firsthand with our CTO. My oldest
Wow.
son, who was in school learning how to build and weld airplanes in South Carolina, just said, "Dad, I'm coming back. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to." And he was with. They both were there when we started the company, so they knew a little bit about what we were doing. I used to take Josh, and he used to take videos of me early on while we were walking around and doing business and finding leads and trying to buy cars, and like he would see all that years ago. And
Yep.
now fast forward, he's like he's got it. Like, he's me 2 years ago, and I and
That's awesome.
at 21, right? No, he's me 3 years ago at 21, and at the time, I was 45 working.
Mm.
Like, so he's getting a 45-year-old education, like, right now. Like, that's where he's at. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So feels good, man. Feels good.
Yeah. I can imagine. I got 3 sons, man, and there's times where as a parent, you're worried about the type of education they're gonna get, the type of adults they become, who they want to be in society. And I think often, none of my kids are old enough to work yet. They're getting close, but
How old are your
I
kids?
think I got one that's 8, 6, and 2. So I say they're getting close because I started my
Dang.
first job when I was 11. So.
Dang, yeah, all right, man. Let's go, bro. You 11. Let's go. What's the plan?
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, man, I always think, like, am I doing work that I'd want them to do in the world? Would I be proud for them to work alongside me? And so I'm sure that brings you a lot of pride as a father and things like that. So let's pivot real quick. I want to know. I ask everyone that's on the show, and I'll continue to ask this question. There's a lot of acronyms that describe founders in our category, whether it's because of our backgrounds, our heritage, the color of our skin, whatever it may be. I like the term underestimated more than I like anything else, and that's how the name of this podcast came to be, is someone that's underestimated, didn't see you coming. So tell me, some people, it's a chip on their shoulder to prove others wrong, to prove others right. What is it about you being underestimated that's inspired you, or is it something you think about and that motivates you, or it's like, I don't even think twice about it? What is it? What's there for you, man, when you hear the term an underestimated founder?
Yeah. um, the
And be
numbers.
real, spit it. Yeah,
Yeah,
spit it.
yeah. The numbers basically reflect every minority founder as underestimated, right?
Yep.
Out of $150 billion, less than 1% or so, but I think they just said that, okay, all of a sudden 2% of that money got, in the hands of minority founders. So, we're all underestimated. Let's just
Yeah.
start there.
Yep.
I can say that I feel it as you're trying to compete, right? When you're trying to compete, that's when you really feel it. I mean, when you're not doing anything, it's like, okay, I get what you're saying. We're underestimated, whatever. But when you start playing the game, it's like, damn, wow, you just gonna look right over. You ain't gonna pass me that ball. Well, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Damn, wow, I'm right
Yeah.
here. Like, yo, I'm right here. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yep.
you
Yep.
feel it. You feel it. Like,
Yep.
and so, yeah, man, I don't, I try not to think about it. I think, and I usually am not that guy. We
Yep.
talked about this a little bit
Oh
too.
yeah.
My mind, honestly, over the COVID period, when everybody's like just ghost, and it's like you're just you and the room, I did get kind of like overwhelmed with a lot of negative energy. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yep.
Um, and I had to get out of that personally, but
Yep.
I do feel it is so unbalanced, and I do feel like there is a major disconnect, and in some cases, there's a major disconnect in minority investors to minority founders,
Yep.
right? So that's a thing. You know, there's a lot of minority investors, but there's a huge disconnect on where they should be playing together. I
Yep.
think that there should be some way for those conversations to happen, because I feel like there's a lot of play, there's a lot of game that could be done together with those groups, right?
Yep.
That just doesn't happen because of that. But
Yep.
yeah, man, I was in a just one thing on that, and I'll get off of
Yeah.
it. But I was on a call a few months ago that the Capital Factory here in Dallas put on. This Capital
Yep.
Factory is a incubator. We're part of their accelerator or whatever,
Yep.
and it was 19 African American men founders on that call. And each one of those men went down the line and they were telling their story. I was last, and I wanted to be last. So I was the oldest on the call, by the way. I'm 48 now. I was probably 46 then, whatever, 47.
Yep.
And each one of those guys told their story, Razor, and all of them, the summary was the same.
Wow.
I had a cool idea. It was a great brand. I was doing good. I got traction. I raised about $500,000, and I got a big contract that I couldn't fund, and
Mm.
somebody else came in with a subpar idea and did exactly what I'm saying. I swear to God, all 19 of them.
Wow.
And I'm emotional now at the end of
Yep.
this call, because at the end of the day, man, this is really about them. I'm good. I lived a good. I'm still living. I'm still got a lot
Yeah.
of stuff to do. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, the future. These are all young guys, 20, 30, 35, 20, 35. Not even 40. I'm emotional, and I say to the guy who's leading the call for Capital Factory, I said, "Listen, man, it looks like you." He's like, "What do we do?" I said, "Looks like you already know what to do. Somebody's
Mm.
not telling our story." That's
Right.
I said, if you want to change something, you white guy, you need to go tell this story,
Right.
because we don't know who to obviously we don't know who to tell the stories to, and
Yeah.
obviously there's a disconnection, and obviously you know who to tell the stories to. That's the problem. So
Mm.
nobody's speaking up for that group
Yep.
until the ideas get shaked around into the other group, and then it's like, oh, that's a great idea. We got money. Let's go.
Yep. Yep. No, man. And that's obviously, that's part of X Factor Capital's mission. And one of the things that we did that we, to speak to is we ran into that same issue where we were like, all right, well, what's needed? Right. George Floyd gets murdered. Breonna Taylor gets murdered. Ahmaud Arbery gets murdered. And we're like, what do we do? Where do we solve problems? We're not at the time, we're not pastors, we're not politicians, we're not police officers, we're not government officials, we don't influence policy, we're entrepreneurs. So what do we do? Because we live in capitalism. We're participating in capitalism, whether you want to resist it or not. We're participating in it. And I believe entrepreneurship changes the world. And so if I believe that entrepreneurship can change the world, and we got a lot of great Black entrepreneurs out there, but they're missing one thing, funding, right? They're proper funding, not just seed, angel, friends and family, like proper funding from pre-seed all the way up, right? The right idea with the right operator. And I even believe that we need the opportunity to fail. That there's so many companies that are going out there, raising a bunch of money, flopping. Like, we need more opportunity to fail, because that's how the ecosystem gets pushed. And so obviously that's, where you and I connected. That's where we've had a lot of bond and things like that. So I do believe, and that's the optimistic in me, but I do believe that it's on the rise. I think a level of awareness has been brought over the last year and a half, where more than just set aside programs, not that I have anything against those set aside programs, but I think more Black wealth is being built. When more Black wealth gets built, we have more investors. When we have more investors, We have more Black dollars that can go into Black businesses because we naturally invest with who we know, like, and trust, and who's in our immediate network, people that have similar backgrounds as us. You and I connected on the car. We're both fathers. I am more connected to eCarra and your mission because of our likeness that we share. So I'm more likely to become an investor, right? And so I think the ecosystem is going to change. I don't know how far out we are, man, but I really appreciate you being transparent and honest about that. Before we close out, man, I love to hear, maybe not to the old rock, because I was gonna ask the question in a different way, but I'm gonna ask it this way. Those entrepreneurs that are listening right now, what word of advice, what suggestion, what nugget do you have for entrepreneurs right now thinking about stepping in and going to launch a startup? And they identify themselves as underestimated in some way or another. What advice or counsel would you give them?
That's a good one. I would say, first off, you will have challenges. You know that we all do.
Yep.
And I would say you have to be at ease with yourself first. Like, that's huge to me. Like, if you are not at ease with yourself, no, because you're gonna get hit with a lot of things, and from small business to large business, it's the same things, just more escalated, if you will. But that piece of yourself is huge. It's, to me, huge. And then it's like, when you're comfortable with yourself and not compare yourself, because you tend to do it, right? You look at the next guy that's doing what you do, that's a competitor, and then look at it, is this person better than me, or why am I not getting what they're getting, and why don't all that stuff. You just got to be at ease with yourself first, and
It's
then I
good.
think it's just like, put your head down and stay in your lane and do what is in your heart to do, and be as good as you can be at it. That's it. And then just go. Yeah, it's gonna be scary. Do it scared, but that's why you got to be peace at yourself. I think fear comes from that, unsettlement inside, that you fear. Like, what if I lose? Well, if I lose, I lost. You just got to
Yep.
be okay with that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like right now, I think about that because I'm responsible. Like, our friends and family round was like $500,000. Like, I got 500 grand from my friends. Holy crap! You know what I mean? Like, I got to be
Yep.
at ease with myself so that I can perform with that money, right? So yeah, I think about it, but you put your head down, you go to work, you're peaceful with yourself, you execute the best you know how, and you stumble, and you're okay with it. You just keep going. That's what I've had to do the last year, I think, for sure.
Yeah. No, that's good, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate you sharing that. I think, young entrepreneurs, we got some right here, even in the studio. And I know, we have some shaking their heads like, man, like that's real. That's spoken from a level of experience where we're all going to stumble. We're all going to have our challenges. And whether you're underestimated or you're a white guy from Harvard, the challenges look different. Entrepreneurship is just a tough game. And I think that's something that needs to be said and needs to be highlighted more. I think the glory, and I'm not throwing no shade at anybody on social media, but the glory of entrepreneurship that is over marketed, sometimes the real isn't really talked about. People talk about the grind culture and the success and the private jets and the cars and all that crap. You and I both know there's nothing wrong with those guys other than the fact that they're lying, and we know that entrepreneurship is it's a dogfight every single day, and
Right.
it's enjoying that process. It's finding joy through the chaos. There's going to be storms, and just finding that eye of the storm where you're going to live. There's always going to be chaos around you, and you just got to be find peace in all of that craziness. So I appreciate you sharing that,
Right.
man. That's real game.
No, they don't over commercialize the journey to the PJ, right? Like,
Yeah.
you don't
Yep.
see people like me, like, every time you see a private jet, you're like, damn, one
Yeah.
day, woo, just keep working. Like, you don't hear that part. You just see the
Yeah.
guy with the private jet, and like, you can
Yeah.
do this too. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh no, you got a lot of it's a lot of steps. It's a
A lot
lot
of
of
things.
steps. steps to get to the PJ.
Yeah, and I got nothing against people who are selling courses and things like that, but there's no one course, no one book that you can pick up that's just going to give you all the answers to how to go build something, especially if it's innovative and earth shattering like eCarra is. Well, Rock, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for being one of our pilot episodes. This is exciting. I'm excited for this content to be shared with the world. For the eCarra team, send our thanks from the team X Factors for letting us borrow you for an hour. Thank your family and your team for what you guys are doing in the world, what you're building, who you are, and what you stand for. We're just very grateful for you, man, and grateful to have your friendship. Looking forward to following episodes where you can join us, Rock. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you for your time and team, and really appreciate the opportunity. I'd love to chat with you more at another time.
All right, sounds good, man. Take care.